All right, so this means that there's an asymptote. And so I'm just going to check 7 from the left. So a number to the left of 7. So I'm going to try 6. If I plug in 6 down here, that would give me -1. So I'm just going to make myself a note that it was negative. And a negative over a negative is positive. So positive infinity. So the next one, if we try to plug in -2, we're going to get 4 minus 4, which will be 0. And then down here, we'll have 4 plus 6 minus 10, which would be 0. So if we get 0 over 0, what does that mean that the graph has in it? Good. That means that the graph has a hole. If there is a hole, that means you need to get something to cancel out. So we're going to try to do some algebra here and see if we get something to cancel. So the numerator is going to split x plus 2, x minus 2. And the denominator is going to be, what is that going to be, 2 and 5? We would need -5 plus 2. So the x plus 2's cancel. That is good. Now we can just go ahead and plug in -2 to get our answer. So numerator will be -4. And the denominator will be -7. So 4/7. How is this going so far? The first two. Feedback, are we okay so far? Okay, sweet. Do we like this better or worse than just looking at a graph? Do you like having the graph and you just kind of look at it, or do you guys like working them out better? Okay, next, we'll see. Okay, cool. All right, this is your step graph. I would just draw a picture of it. I think that is the easiest way to handle these ones. This is a step graph that moved to the right 1. So from the origin, I'm going to go right 1. And this is where my first step is going to be. And then I'm just going to draw in a few more steps. And let me get another color here. We are approaching 3, which is right here. And we are approaching it from the left. So here is us approaching 3 from the left. I realize there's a hole there, but it doesn't matter. As we approach 3 from the left, that y value is 1. So this answer will be 1. If we were approaching 3 from the right, that would be this piece. We would be right here. And so that answer would be 2 if we were approaching from the other side. All right, next one, we're going to try to plug in 4. 4 minus 5 will give us -1. 4 minus 4 will be 0. So another asymptote. This is either going to be positive or negative infinity. So we're going to try a number to the right of 4, which would be 5. If we do 5 minus 4, we get 1, which is positive. And so we have a negative over a positive, which is negative infinity. I kind of like those ones with the asymptotes. Those are short. If there's a hole, you've got to do a bunch of algebra, or sometimes like if it's like this, you have to draw a graph, but those ones I think are like the least amount of work. All right, here we're gonna try to draw a graph of this because plugging in 2 is not gonna get us anywhere. And I did some like this on the Ed puzzle. This graph is moved to the right 2. And at 2, we're not going to be able to get a point because this is going to be 0 over 0. It's going to be a hole. We are going to be at -1 until we get to 2. And then after that, we'll be at +1. You can check that by trying to plug in some numbers. If you plug in 3, you're going to get 1 over 1, which is 1. If you plug in 4, what would that be? 2 over 2, which is 1. If you plug in 5, you're going to get 3 over 3, which is 1. They're all going to be 1. And if you go the other direction, you're just going to end up with -1. It'll be the same, all the numbers over themselves, but they'll be negative. So it is this graph, just instead of being centered at 0, it moved to the right 2. So we are approaching 2 from the right. That means we're getting closer and closer to 2 from this side. And I know there's a hole, but it doesn't matter. As we get closer and closer here, we are on the y value of 1. So that answer was either going to be 1 or -1, no matter what. And then last one, if you plug in 3, you are going to get 0 over 0. So we're going to have to cancel something out. We're going to use the conjugate, which is going to be this exact same thing except +2. And again, it is a little bit of writing to write that out, but that didn't take me very long. And then in the next step, everything's going to cancel out. So when we multiply these, the roots cancel. We'll just get x plus 1. The outsides and insides cancel because one's positive and one is negative. And then -2 times 2 will be -4. And what do you do to the denominator? Nothing. Just copy this over exactly as is. If you start trying to multiply that out, it's just going to be a disaster. So just leave it alone. And then the numerator is x minus 3. This +1 minus 4 would be -3. So these cancel. And then you can go ahead and plug in your value. So numerator is going to be 1. And if I plug in 3 to this, I will get square root of 4, which is 2, plus 2 would be 4.